Have you ever felt like your own mind was working against you? Like the harder you tried to think clearly, the more confused everything became? Like you were losing grip, not on the situation, but on yourself? That feeling is not weakness. That feeling is what happens when a mind that was never trained finally meets real pressure. And here is the thing most people never want to hear. Most people do not have a trained mind. They have a managed mood. They distract themselves when things get hard. They wait for things to get better on their own. They lean on other people, good news, and good outcomes to feel stable. And then, when those things disappear, everything falls apart with them. Friedrich Nietzsche did not believe in waiting. He believed that the human mind, when pushed hard enough, either breaks completely or becomes something the comfortable version of itself could never have been. He called this the process of becoming. And what he left behind is more useful for the chaos you are currently living inside than anything the self-help world has produced in the 100 years since. 7 lessons. Stay until lesson 7, because that final one will permanently change the relationship you have with your own mind. I promise that by the end of this video, the feeling of being out of control will never mean the same thing to you again. Most people, the moment life gets unmanageable, fight the reality. They spend enormous energy resisting the fact that the unwanted thing has already arrived. They argue, internally, constantly, with what is happening. And that internal war costs more than the original problem ever did. Here is the crazy part. Nietzsche said that suffering in itself is not the real problem. The story your mind builds around the suffering, that is the problem. Think about it. If two people can go through the exact same collapse, the same loss, the same failure, the same period of complete disorder, and end up somewhere completely different on the other side. Not because one of them suffered less, because one of them told a different story about what the suffering meant. And this is where most people get it wrong. They believe that mastering the mind means feeling nothing. That a strong person is someone who stays completely unmoved. Nietzsche said that is the deepest misunderstanding of strength that exists. He was not asking you to feel less. He was asking you to stop letting the feeling write the ending. Drop a comment right now and tell me, what does feeling out of control actually feel like for you? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know what brought you here today. Now here is the second lesson, and this one is where most people waste the most energy. Most people are not trying to control their life. They are trying to control everything happening around their life. And there is a massive difference between those two things. The anxious mind does not sort between what it can actually change and what it cannot. It treats everything as equally urgent. The work problem and the health scare and the relationship and the thing someone said 4 days ago, all flooding in at the same time, as if worrying about all of it with the same intensity will somehow keep it all manageable. It will not. It is brutal, but it is human. Nietzsche was specific about this. He said the will to power, his central idea, is not about controlling everything around you. It is about mastering the one thing that is actually within your reach, your response, your interpretation, the direction you choose to move. Everything outside of that is weather, and the person who stops fighting the weather suddenly has real energy to build something inside it. Most people are not exhausted by their lives. They are exhausted by their resistance to their lives. The moment that resistance gets redirected inward, everything changes. And the next lesson explains exactly where that energy needs to go. Here is something most anxious people do not realize about themselves. They are almost never actually living in the present. They are living in one of two places: the past, replaying every mistake, every loss, every moment that did not go the way it should have, or the future, rehearsing every possible disaster before it has even happened. Neither of those places is real, and you cannot do anything in a place that is not real. Nietzsche introduced the idea of a more fatty love of fate, not just acceptance of what is, love of it. The complete embrace of this exact moment, not as something to endure, but as the only place where any real power actually exists. Think about it. Right now, in this specific second, what is actually happening? Not yesterday, not next week, right now. In most cases, right now is survivable. In most cases, right now even contains things that are working. The untrained mind cannot see this because it never stays long enough to look. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think being present means being passive, that accepting what is means giving up on changing it. Nietzsche meant the exact opposite. The person who is fully here, not dragging the past behind them or dreading the future ahead, is the most capable person in any room, because they are operating with their whole mind, not the fraction left over after anxiety has taken most of it. We are almost halfway through, And the next lesson is the one that separates people who come out of hard periods stronger from the ones who just come out. Keep watching, because this one actually changes behavior, not just the way you think. Most people have heard some version of this idea before. The obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way. And most people have dismissed some version of it. Stay with the Nietzsche version, because it is darker than the motivational poster version, and a lot more honest. Nietzsche wrote about what he called the hammer, the idea that the things in life that hit hardest are also the things that shape most precisely. He was not saying that suffering is secretly good. He was saying that the mind that actually moves through real difficulty, not around it, develops something that comfort simply cannot produce. It is brutal, but it is human. Think about every real strength you currently have, every piece of wisdom that you actually live by, not just repeat, every capacity that is genuinely yours. Where did it come from? Not from the easy periods, from the ones that forced you to become more than you were before they arrived. Nietzsche called this becoming who you are, not finding yourself, forging yourself. And the forge, by definition, requires fire. The chaos you are inside right now is not evidence that something is wrong with your life. It may be evidence that something is being built inside it. Share this video with someone who is in the middle of a hard period right now, not with anything attached to it. Just send it, because sometimes what someone needs is not advice. It is proof that difficulty has a direction. Here is the one that surprises people most. Discipline is not a cage. It is the only real freedom available to you. Most people experience self-discipline as something imposed on them, a restriction, a sacrifice, a list of things they cannot do. Nietzsche saw it as the only structure through which genuine power becomes possible. He was not interested in comfort. He was interested in capacity. And here is the crazy part. The undisciplined mind is not free. It is controlled, not by choice, but by whatever feeling is loudest in the moment. It goes wherever the strongest impulse sends it. It reacts instead of decides. It is moved by every external provocation because it has no internal structure to hold it in place. The disciplined mind chooses its direction, not by cutting off feeling, by refusing to be governed by the loudest feeling in the room at any given moment. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think discipline means rigidity. They think self-control means becoming cold or robotic. Nietzsche was not asking for rigidity. He was asking for roots. Rigidity breaks when real pressure arrives. Roots hold. The person who has built genuine internal structure becomes something very difficult to shake, because their stability does not require anything outside themselves to cooperate. Now here is lesson 6, and this one explains why so many people who feel out of control are not actually losing grip on their own life. When your life feels chaotic, one of the biggest hidden costs is other people's disorder flooding into your system. Their panic becomes your panic. Their urgency becomes your urgency. Their poor decisions somehow always end up as problems in your lap. Nietzsche was direct about this. He said the person who has not built genuine inner stability becomes a container for everyone else's chaos. They absorb the emotional weather of every room they walk into. They end every day depleted, not from their own life, but from all the lives they have been quietly carrying alongside their own. It is brutal, but it is human. Most people who feel out of control are not losing grip on their own life. They are holding too many lives at once. The person who learns this lesson stays present without being consumed. They can care deeply about someone. You are simply unfinished. And being unfinished is not a flaw. It is the condition of every single person who is still in the process of becoming something. The chaos is not interrupting that process. It is the process. 5 things to do right now. 1. Stop making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. The chaos you feel right now is weather. Your ability to keep going through it, that is climate. Those are not the same thing. 2. Draw the actual line. Write down what you can influence and what you cannot. Stop spending mental energy on the second list. Everything goes into the first. 3. Every time your mind pulls toward past regret or future worry, ask one question. What can I actually do right now? Then do only that, nothing else. 4. Stop carrying other people's chaos as if it belongs to you. You can care without absorbing. You can show up for someone without becoming the thing they stand on. Learn where you end and they begin. 5. Make one small promise to yourself today and keep it. Not a transformation, one thing. The mind that can keep one promise to itself discovers it can be trusted. And a mind that trusts itself is not easily broken by anything coming from outside it. Here is the final truth. You will not master your mind once and then have it mastered forever. That is not how any of this works. The mind drifts every day. It gets pulled by fear. It tries to live in the past or hide in the future. It will tell you, convincingly, that this particular version of chaos is the one you cannot survive. And every day, you bring it back. Not by force, by practice. The strong mind is not the one that never loses its footing. It is the one that knows how to find its way back, every single time, without needing perfect conditions, without waiting for someone outside itself to make the first move. Now I want something from you.